that make you feel? Giving a child his freedom.
Felt good.
You have been at this for 12 years.
My country, 'tis of thee.
Why are you doing it?
Sweet land of liberty.
Because God's children are not for sale.
Of thee I sing.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
We're Homeland Security. You know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
This job tears you to pieces.
And where my fathers died.
And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
Land of the pilgrims'
And yet somehow you have failed to bring me one real-world lead.
It's over, Tim. Close up and come back home.
So you quit your job and you go and rescue those kids.
Let freedom ring.
Hear that? That's the sound of freedom.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another movie review. I am happy that you can join me today. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Happy to have you here. Click the subscribe button below for future notifications and updates. Click the like button and share with other movie fans. So, at the time that I am recording this, I just got back from the movie theater. I saw Sound of Freedom. It's considered to be a drama thriller, and it stars Jim Caviezel, and it was directed by Alejandro Monteverde, and it clocks in at approximately 2 hours and 15 minutes. I first heard about this film on my Regal app. I have a long-time membership with Regal Cinemas. I think I got my membership about 20 years ago. So I found out about this movie on the Regal app, and I saw the commercial. I was reading the synopsis of it, and sex trafficking has been a subject that I've been interested in for a number of years, because the more I read about sex trafficking, human trafficking, the more I learn about how far the hole goes. It's basically a rabbit hole that nobody talks about in the media for the most part. If you are not familiar with human trafficking, sex trafficking, child trafficking, in a nutshell, trafficking is the modern version of slavery. So, after I learned about this film, I was wondering why this film did not get a marketing campaign, which to me is quite strange. So, I did some digging, and basically, this film got a strictly social media campaign. It's on YouTube, it's on Twitter, and that's as far as it goes. This film has never premiered at a famous film festival. The theatrical release was the 4th of July, which was 3 days ago. And before I bought my ticket to see the movie today, I found out that Sound of Freedom beat Indiana Jones at the box office on Independence Day, which the media took a notice of that because the 4th of July is a very important day for movie theaters. Sound of Freedom had a $14.5 million budget, and at the box office on Independence Day, it grossed 14.2 million, whereas Indiana Jones' new film, The Dial of Destiny, grossed 12 million. And since the Indiana Jones film was released last Friday, so far it has only made $150 million. That's an issue because Indiana Jones had a $300 million budget. So while Indiana Jones have yet to make back all of its investment, in one day, Sound of Freedom made back their investment. So, it's not a documentary, but it is really based on a true story. A lot of the events did happen. Jim Caviezel played Tim Ballard, and Tim Ballard is a government agent. At the time of the events of the film, he was working for Homeland Security, and he was working in the sex trafficking unit. When he realizes that he's been catching pedophiles, but he hasn't been rescuing children, he decides to take it one step further and start rescuing kids. So one of the kids that he rescued from trafficking was an 8-year-old boy named Miguel. During his conversation with Miguel, Miguel asks him to rescue his sister, Rosalia. And so for the rest of the film, Tim is on a mission to find Miguel's sister. He goes to Colombia, he receives help from the local authorities, and at some point in the film, he ends up rescuing 54 kids. When the police interviews the children to get their names, he's asking, is one of them Rosalia? They said no. So the search for Rosalia continues. And it continues into into an area of Colombia where authorities are not allowed in. And so it's basically up to Tim to single-handedly rescue Miguel's sister. When I first got out of the film, I really didn't have a clue as to what I was going to grade this film. And then a part of me was thinking, well, it's based on a true story, so can you really grade a film like this? Probably not. And then after some thought and after some more reading and some more research, I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to give this film 4.5 out of 5 stars. During the closing credits, Jim Caviezel makes a special announcement, and he explains that they made this film to shed a light on human trafficking. And he says that it's not about me, it's not about Tim, it's about these kids. Okay, so the filmmakers are convinced that it is going to be the storytellers that make a difference, because in the past, it's the storytellers that did make a difference. And so Jim Caviezel mentions in the closing credits special announcement that he's hoping that this film would be the current day Uncle Tom's Cabin, where people actually wake up and spread the word about this film because of the important message. In terms of the quality of the movie is your standard film. There is nothing special about the cinematography, the editing. The acting is very strong. That I will give them credit to. The music, the soundtrack is very strong as well. And overall, the film came together rather well. So it's a good movie. in terms of quality. It's not a great film, but it is a solid, good film. Um, and you also have to consider that the budget was 14.5 million. So it seemed as though that um, they spent the money wisely, and this film has gotten a PG-13 rating. So you're now watching graphic scenes that makes you want to, look away from the screen. So there's a certain level of respect for the children in the film. So there are certain things that we just don't see, so that, they were able to avoid an NC-17 rating and an R rating. The it's not it's the subject is so heavy, so gut wrenching, such a tearjerker that um you know you can watch it once and that's pretty much it. So it's one of those like watch once only film. And but when it comes to the subject matter at hand, I walked away thinking to myself, God, I got work to do. As a person who is a storyteller, I tell stories. My last publishing, my last self-published book was a play. So, I do consider myself to be a storyteller. It's just like, oh God, like we got more work to do, and we cannot stop here. We have to keep telling these stories so that the audience does not forget. One of the things that I want to mention here is that the sex trafficking industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And according to the closing credits, there are more victims of human trafficking now than they were during the time when slavery was legal. And for those of you who might be skeptical, I did a little bit of research, and it sounds as if that is correct. There are more people, and there are more victims of human trafficking now than there were during days of slavery. Um, and the reason why I say that is because according to my Google research, back in 1700, the world population was 610 million. In 1804, the world population was 1 billion. In 1900, the world population was 1.6 billion. As of 2000, the world population was 6.1 billion. As of 2020, the world population was 7.8 billion people. So, is it possible that there are more um, victims of human trafficking now than there were during the days of slavery before it was abolished in 1865? Yes, I do think that there's some truth to that, because of the world population numbers and the fact that they have this information online. I walked out of the movie theater also thinking that, um, to a certain extent, we almost got robbed, because when I did some more digging, um, at first, well, let me just start off with this. Um, the script was written back in 2015. They went to production back in 2018. That was 5 years ago. And after post production, um, the filmmakers had a distribution deal with 20th Century Fox. Then Disney bought out 20th Century Fox and shelved the movie. The filmmakers spent years trying to get the distribution rights from Disney so that they can take it to the theaters. Then the producer, Eduardo Verastegui, he's also an actor, so he was producer and actor. He played one of the minor characters in the film. He approached Angel Studios to get a distribution deal, and that's how we now have it in theaters. So Jim Caviezel, during that special announcement, during the closing credits, he did say that they have been working hard for 5 years to get this film in theaters. Okay? And he did say that this movie was made 5 years ago, and we are now just seeing it in theaters. Hollywood has some explaining to do as to why a film like this got put on the shelves. This is very disturbing, and I mean, like, I just feel as though that Hollywood is being distracted by certain things that don't matter in comparison to the serious issue of human trafficking. I'm not going to get into what they're distracted by, because if I say what I truly feel, people would get offended and I would be misunderstood. But Hollywood is being distracted. I think that the public in general has been distracted as well. This is a problem that we just are not paying attention to. According to human rights organizations, human trafficking flourishes under authoritarian regimes, and democratic regimes are less likely to create an environment that's conducive to human trafficking. Having said that, the United States has a human trafficking problem. I live in New York City. It's the most populated city in the country. So I'm sure that we have a human trafficking problem here in this city. So again, this goes back to what I'm saying. We have, as storytellers, as independent filmmakers, we have some work to do to make sure that not only do we, support movies like The Sound of Freedom, but we also continue to make films about this serious topic, so that people pay attention and that it's in people's, it's at the forefront of people's minds, so that change can be made. I would suggest that you do watch it. Please support this film. The filmmakers appreciate it, and I will see you next time with another movie review. Take care and God bless.